Welcome back, students of MEFB 2013. Now we're going to move on to our next topic, which is grinding and abrasive processes. I hope you've gone through metal cutting, you've learned all the basics of metal cutting, and as I've mentioned in the previous videos, how I would expect you to answer the metal cutting questions. I hope you'll be able to answer in that way, and from now on we'll move on to the next topic, which is grinding and abrasive processes. So what is grinding and abrasive processes? So as we started off with the different types of manufacturing processes, first we did sand casting, then we spoke about die casting, metal cutting, and then there's more to go, like hot working, cold working, press working, ultrasonic machining. So in all those manufacturing processes, I think the most essential, it starts off with the raw material. You get your finished product. Once you obtain your finished product, doesn't matter what manufacturing processes you have decided to adapt. The final part or the final product needs to undergo two final steps. Step number one, grinding and abrasive processes. Step number two, finishing processes. So you must remember that grinding and abrasive process is a very important step. Why? Because your surface finish of your final product has to be excellently good. When you go and look for a product, when you decide to buy a product, what attracts your attention besides the functionality of the product? I think the other one feature that really attracts your attention is the appearance of your product. So if you want your product to be well appeared, have good surface finish, good appearance, the product at the manufacturing level itself have to undergo grinding and abrasive processes. So once the product has undergone grinding and abrasive process, the next step would be finishing processes, where the product is either painted or undergoes coating, or plating, or what other finishing processes that is available. Finishing process will be unit 8 of this class. We'll talk about it later. So at the moment, let's focus on grinding and abrasive process. So just like machining process, grinding and abrasive process require a lot of work. It requires grinding the surface of the material. So when you grind the surface of a material or a product, material is removed. When material is removed, there is frictional force between the grinding wheel and the material of cut. Therefore, a lot of heat will be generated, and you will have to use coolant in order to bring down the heat of the product. So coolant, like I mentioned to you in your previous chapters, please know at least 3 functions of coolants for your exam purposes. So a coolant should be used in the abrasive processes in order to eliminate heat, clear away chips, dust, and help the wheel to be free of cutting all the time. So grinding and abrasive process provide fine finishes because of many cutting points or grains. It gives a surface roughness of 0.4 to 2200 micrometer, high accuracy of workpiece dimension and shape. It's possible to grind very hard materials greater than Rockwell C50. So depending on the type of grinding wheel that you use, the grinding wheel or the most efficient grinding wheel that is available would be a diamond grinding wheel, like I had mentioned to you in the previous lecture. But normally people choose not to use it because of the cost involved. So it can be used to machine surfaces after the heat treatment. The cost of the wheel can be lowered than for some other cutters. So abrasive machining is primarily a stock removal process which is used to cut surfaces with larger depths of cut. So abrasive machining is just normally to remove a layer of material so that the surface will be smooth and evenly distributed for your next process, which is the finishing. So like I mentioned to you, this is your wheel surface, these are your grains, and this is a wear. So when you're grinding, all this takes place. So most importantly, how do you know what kind of grinding are you going to perform? So grinding, just like machining, you have 2 types of grinding. You have the rough grinding and the fine grinding. So what is a rough grinding and what is a fine grinding? Rough grinding is depending on the manufacturing process you have chosen to apply. So in finishing processes where the outcome of the product is not as satisfactory as expected, meaning that the surface finish of the product is still rough, okay, so you may want to settle, or you may start first with a rough grinding. Rough grinding will not change the dimension of the product, will not change the measurement of the product, but it will remove material that will involve minute amount of changes in dimension, meaning that you are going to remove material to smoothen the surface. Therefore, when you remove material, there will be a very slight change in dimension, maybe 0.1 millimeters, 0.2 millimeters. There will be a slight dimensional change in order for you to obtain a smooth surface finish. Once the product have undergone rough grinding, the product will need to undergo fine grinding. So what is fine grinding? Fine grinding is a so-called surface polishing method, okay. So once you have the product has undergone rough grinding, you need to smoothen the surface further by a polishing technique, that is fine grinding technique. So once your product is smooth, okay, then it is favorable for a finishing process, okay. So remember the 2 steps in grinding, rough grinding and fine grinding. So please keep that in mind. I will continue in the next video. Thank you.